Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the 2015 Academy Awards. The 87th Academy Awards were tonight, and it was slightly unexpected. And by unexpected, I mean that a film won that was kind of heavily favored to possibly win, but no one thought would probably win, but still won. So as unexpected as all that can really be. Birdman was kind of surprising. I think everybody really thought Boyhood was going to take it in the end, but Birdman, as I was telling a friend after I saw Inherent Vice, that I thought Birdman was kind of a weird movie for normal people. It is more challenging than your average kind of Oscar fare. It is a little weirder. Half of me goes, well, that gives me a little more faith in the Academy that they'd actually give an award to something like Birdman. But another part of me is like, yeah, but I don't actually really like Birdman that much, so it's not that much better. And actually, if I was going to pick my favorite movie of the 8 Best Picture nominees, I would most definitely pick Whiplash, but Whiplash didn't even make it into my top 10 list, so I think that shows you what I thought of the Best Picture nominees. I'm still not thrilled with the Oscars or anything, but I was a little surprised. I think I was more surprised by some of the winners than I have been in recent years. I feel like recently it's just been, oh look, all the people I thought who were going to win won. That happened for the most part, but there are certain categories that they really surprised me with. Not in a good way, but they still surprised me, which was a little more fun. I had fun anyway because I had a nice Oscar party and I got all dressed up in this nice tux, but that really has nothing to do with the awards themselves. I do like kind of being surprised. You know, it's no fun when you know a lot about movies and the same crap that you thought was going to happen in January continues to happen. It just feels really boring. Even though I didn't like the films that won over the films that I did like, it was still kind of nice, something unexpected happening. And Neil Patrick Harris, I thought, did a pretty good job. I don't think he did an amazing performance where everyone's like going to demand him come back. Like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler or Ricky Gervais before them did hosting jobs where everyone was just like, oh, I can't wait to see them come back again next year and see what they can do. I don't feel that way with Neil Patrick Harris. Often when I was watching his performance as the host, I was kind of wondering where his character Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother ended and where Neil Patrick Harris began. Some of the things he was doing, specifically the whole thing with the predictions in a box that's locked up, felt like Barney Stinson to me. But also, you know, Neil Patrick Harris is really into magic, and he's part of that magic castle thing they joke about on Arrested Development. That's a real thing. There's a real magic castle, just so you know. And Neil Patrick Harris is very involved with them. So it's not too surprising he'd want to do kind of a magic kind of trick thing. He's really into that kind of stuff. It's not too unexpected. I was kind of surprised. I thought Neil Patrick Harris would have a different persona from what I saw on How I Met Your Mother, so that kind of struck me a little odd. The one segment that I was most surprised by, and not in a good way, but there's this segment where he's doing a scene from Birdman, and there's the drumming, and then you see Miles Teller playing the drums. The funny thing is, I watched the Independent Spirit Awards the night before, and that was hosted by Fred Armisen and Kristen Bell, and they did a really similar bit where they did a Birdman scene, and they go, who's playing those drums? And it's Miles Teller. Now, why Miles Teller didn't tell the Oscars, like, hey, I'm kind of doing a similar bit in another award show. I actually thought the Independent Spirit Awards bit was better because they had Bill Hader come out and pretend to be Yoritu, which I thought was really funny. But I thought that one was a little more clever than the Neil Patrick Harris one. And it was a little odd because that one's the night before. I don't know if like they were like, well, we can't cut this because it's so close to showtime. Not that anyone would argue of them cutting things for the Oscars, because goddamn, it was so long. Specifically the Sound of Music number that came in at the end, that was really too much, and kind of the cliched thing that everyone hates about the Oscars when they run too long is they do a bunch of bullshit like this, which felt a little pointless. And I like the Sound of Music, actually. It felt really out of place, like it wasn't part of the theme of the night. It was just like, hey, you know, 50 years ago the Sound of Music came out. That's great, I like the Sound of Music, but I didn't really need to hear Lady Gaga do a Sound of Music medley. That's always kind of one of the worst parts of the Oscars, when they do these weird medley things that you're like, okay, why am I not hearing who won Best Screenplay again? Because I have to see this. This is the second Oscars in a row that a Mexican director has won Best Director. Alfonso Cuarón won last year. Alejandro Iñárritu won this year, which is actually pretty cool. You know, it's interesting that they talked a lot about the racism of the Oscars and the whitewashing and things like that, and then 2 Mexican directors win 2 years in a row. I'm not acting like it's all perfect now and we should all shut up about it, but I think that's worth noting that that has actually happened. I think that's a really big deal. I think what kind of gave Iñárritu the edge is he's actually been nominated before for Best Director. He's done the Oscar campaigning a couple of times. He's more known to the Oscar voter, so I think that actually helped. Eddie Redmayne winning over Michael Keaton, the 6-year-old self in me who likes Michael Keaton Batman movies would much have preferred to see Michael Keaton get up there, and Michael Keaton's an awesome actor. I think it's kind of a shame he didn't win. Of all of them, I think I kind of would have preferred he won just because he's Michael Keaton and he's amazing. Now Michael Keaton's gonna have an amazing career and Eddie Redmayne gets to be that bad guy in Jupiter Ascending. So who really won in life? One's Michael Keaton and the other was In My Week with Marilyn. So I think Michael Keaton's already won. It's like the DiCaprio thing. People are always upset about DiCaprio not winning an Oscar, but I'm like, DiCaprio won at life. He's good, and Keaton's in that category. Same with Bill Murray. He has won most things. This is the best it's going to get for Eddie Redmayne. Julianne Moore winning for Still Alice is interesting because Still Alice has made less than what 50 Shades of Grey made in just its 8 p.m. screenings, and it's pretty obscure for a movie to win an Oscar. I kind of think it was more of a Lifetime Achievement Award. For Julianne Moore, sure, she deserves it, and she deserves to win an Oscar. J.K. Simmons, I love the J.K. Simmons won. I love J.K. Simmons. He's an amazing character actor, and it's cool when character actors win Oscars, and it'll be cool to see him in more and more big projects because of the prestige and the profile he has gotten from this movie. Patricia Arquette was expected. Everybody thought she was going to win. She ended up being Boyhood's only Oscar winner. I think one of the things that worked against Boyhood is all these critics groups and all these best of lists putting it as not just like a film of the year, but one of the best films ever made and things like that. And I think that kind of blew Boyhood out of proportion. I think if maybe everybody had calmed down a little bit, not said it's like the best film of the past 5 years like The Dissolve did. I saw a lot of people saying it should be considered one of the best films ever made. It just blew it up way too much, and everybody should have maybe calmed down a bit. When you blow things up that much, it seems like Oscar voters don't like that as much. Like when you say, oh, this will be the first time that happened, they start getting a little nervous. Best Animated Feature was disappointing for me. From the get-go, Lego Movie, which I thought was one of the best movies of the year, didn't even get nominated. I thought How to Train Your Dragon kind of had it on lock after a while. It seemed to put that category all up in the air when Lego Movie didn't get nominated and no one knew who was going to win, but then Big Hero 6 took it, which was something I didn't expect. But I think Disney has won so many of these animated Oscars. When you consider Best Animated Short, they've been winning those since the very first one they won, and they've won more animated short Oscars than anybody. Frozen was one thing. I was a little disappointed they didn't give a second Oscar to Hayao Miyazaki. I didn't expect Takahata to win, or Song of the Sea, which I actually thought Song of the Sea was the best of the animated feature films in there. But How to Train Your Dragon was amazingly well directed. The lighting in that film was gorgeous. Like, they invented a whole new program just for lighting, and the visual composition in that film are just so far beyond what Big Hero 6 did. It's a gorgeous film to look at, and I rewatched it recently and I was just taken aback by how amazingly, strikingly visual that film is. Much like the first How to Train Your Dragon was, and how well done the 3D was with the flight. But in How to Train Your Dragon 2, I feel like they upped their ante so much so visually in such an amazing, striking way, in such a creative way. For a lot of technical reasons, I would have probably picked How to Train Your Dragon 2. The script for How to Train Your Dragon 2 is a little all over the place. Big Hero 6 is just a little too genre superhero movie. It's certainly very good at it, but I don't think it really excels in it. It would have been so nice if they had let Takahata win. It occurred to me most people don't really know who Takahata is. They still have to sell Princess Kaguya not on the name of Grave of the Fireflies, but on Miyazaki's name, because right when Miyazaki hit it big with Spirited Away, Takahata was doing his weird stuff like My Neighbor the Yamadas and Pompoko. Kaguya is probably the widest release he's ever had here. I don't think My Neighbor the Yamadas barely came out. If it even came out in theaters, I don't think it did come out in theaters. I think him being so unknown didn't help him. Disney won both of the animated Oscars this year, which Feast everyone thought would win because it's the only one anyone could see. Everyone thought it was either Big Hero 6 or How to Train Your Dragon 2. Also, DreamWorks has only won one Oscar for Best Animated Feature, for the first Best Animated Feature Oscar for Shrek. I kind of thought they should have won it this year because it shows the best of DreamWorks as the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, and yet they keep losing. And I understand the first time Toy Story 3, so they couldn't do it. But this time it was like earnestly like of the mainstream big budget studio animated films. It had so many great things about it that it's just really disappointing. With Best Song, you know, I loved the Everything Is Awesome performance. It really had a whimsical, amazing quality that the Lego Movie itself actually had. The Selma performance, you know, it was really powerful and stuff, but I just don't really like that song that much. This song from Selma really won because Selma didn't get nominated for very much, and they really, you know, put a lot of power into that performance because they knew, like, this is as big of a shot as we're really gonna get with this film. I just really didn't like that song very much. I don't think it was as memorable, and I really doubt anyone's gonna remember that song in a year or two, which is kind of like most Oscar things. Whereas Everything Is Awesome, I think we're gonna remember for a while. Also, Everything Is Awesome was like actually part of the movie and not a song during the credits. It was nice that Grand Budapest Hotel won for so many technical awards like Best Production Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Costume Design. Wes Anderson's films are so excellently made, and it's kind of criminal, like none of his films have even been nominated for Best Production Design. The Grand Budapest Hotel tied with Birdman for most wins during the Oscars. Not that most wins means you like won even more or something, but it was kind of nice that Grand Budapest Hotel won so many. Alexander Desplat, which apparently you say his name Desplat. I like that. Oh, I'm Desplat. I need Desplat. He's a major composer. He's done a lot of big movies. He's done a lot of great scores. It's kind of like they needed to just give him an Oscar at a certain point. And it was a pretty nice score of his for the Grand Budapest Hotel. The screenplays, I thought Whiplash would win. Whiplash won 3, which I was happy with. Sound mixing it deserved, and editing, because the editing in that film was incredible. And J.K. Simmons. Best adapted, having it be Imitation Game, which wasn't a particularly great script, although that was an impassioned speech that he gave. Birdman winning for Best Original Screenplay was, I thought Wes Anderson would win. When I see that movie, I don't think great script. Maybe I'm just not a Birdman person. But it was a bit of a surprising year. It wasn't as expected, and it was maybe a little more interesting, but not like incredibly too different, interesting kind of an award show. It was just kind of as unexpected as the Oscars can really get. It doesn't really change your mind about the Oscars, and it gives you, like most years, like last year when Spike Jonze and Alfonso Cuarón won, it like gives you a little bit of faith, but it mostly crushes your spirit about the Oscars and who they choose to award Oscars to. It was about really the same. With the Oscars, I always try to think about how most of that money raised is for film preservation and things like that, and not for the evilness of them nominating a bunch of crap that I don't like. But honestly, after a month or so, or after a week or so, I'm going to think about how they nominate and let win a bunch of crap that I don't like, and it's pretty much like every Oscar year I've seen before. So if you saw the 87th Academy Awards and you would like to talk about them, then comment below in the comments. Tell me who you thought was snubbed, and tell me who you think should have won and who your favorite of the nominees were, or anything like that. And subscribe if you would like to. Or my tux. See? I dress up for you guys sometimes, you know? It's the Oscars. You gotta look nice. You can't just show up in a shirt and a hoodie like I usually do.